raise your hand. Really good, attentive listening. Okay, because we're sitting so well, let's do our 3 refuges right here. Very simple version of the 3 refuges. Please repeat after me. I go to the Buddha.
I go to the Buddha
as my refuge.
as my refuge.
I go to the Dharma.
I go to the Dharma
as my refuge.
as my refuge.
I go to the Sangha.
I go to the Sangha
as my refuge.
as my refuge.
I go to the 3 jewels within myself.
I go to the 3 jewels within myself
as my refuge.
as my refuge.
Okay. Have you guys heard the term bodhisattva before? Yeah. Where have you heard bodhisattva? At Peace Camp? Everywhere. Everywhere. Do you know that bodhisattva comes from a Sanskrit word, ancient Indian word, that means awakened being? Awakened one. Good. That's good. So bodhi means awake, and sattva is a being or a one. And so bodhisattva means a being who is awake. And traditionally in the sutras and the scriptures that Pali keeps inside the canon, we have this idea of the bodhisattvas who are like supernatural beings who have all these powers, like Kwanseum Posal, the bodhisattva of great compassion, and Jijang Posal, the bodhisattva of great vow. But sometimes bodhisattvas like that, it's hard for us to relate to them in the modern world. So in modern Buddhism, a different meaning has developed. A bodhisattva is an ordinary person who tries to act with as much wisdom and compassion as possible to try to make life better for everybody. And they kind of realized we're all in this together. So do you guys remember hearing about any specific bodhisattvas at Peace Camp? People who were called bodhisattvas? Maybe there were like dishwashing bodhisattvas. Ruth? Coffee. I think the bodhisattva that the adults appreciate the most is the coffee bodhisattva. The coffee bodhisattva gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning and makes coffee for 100 campers at Peace Camp over the summer. We had a role that was the compost bodhisattva. The compost bodhisattva was someone who volunteered to throw out the compost, the bins of compost that accumulated from 500 campers, not five, from 100 campers for 5 days, eating all this food. And sometimes people didn't want to volunteer for the job of compost bodhisattva, and then we renamed it the Yeet Master. And suddenly all these kids wanted to volunteer to be the Yeet Master, who would like run and chuck the compost into the compost pile in the woods. So there are some qualities of bodhisattvas. And then there are other qualities that are the opposite of the qualities of bodhisattvas. So if we wanted to, let's see if we can make a list. On this side, we'll put bodhisattva qualities. And on this other side, we'll have not qualities of bodhisattvas. So what about generosity? How many people think that that's a quality of a bodhisattva? Generosity. What's an example of generosity, kids? Yes. Sharing. Okay. Like a specific example could be like if there are 2 cookies and one's bigger, and you let your little brother have the bigger cookie, even though you want the bigger cookie. So we'll put generosity over here under bodhisattva qualities. Help me figure out what this one says. Is this compression? Compassion. What is compassion? A bodhisattva quality. Graham, good. We're getting there. And it's what?
It's also compassion.
It's also compassion by definition. Yes. It starts with the C. These are all true. Yeah. Putting others before yourself. Maybe it's realizing that because we're all in this together, if somebody else is suffering, they suffer like I suffer sometimes. You know, all of us suffer sometimes, and we can help each other out. And maybe at school, like if there's a new kid there and the new kid is sitting alone because he doesn't know anybody yet, you go over and you help that person feel comfortable. That would be an example of compassion. Or if you're like helping to comfort one of your friends who is who's having a bad day, that could be an example. All right, what about this one? Jealousy. Not a bodhisattva quality? Down. Thumbs down on jealousy? Yeah, there was never a bodhisattva whose superpower was jealousy, was there? In fact, look at this. If we take jealousy, it contains the word lousy. So jealousy is definitely not a quality of a bodhisattva. So we're going to put that in this pile over here, jealousy. What about patience? Thumbs up or thumbs down on patience? Okay, good. Patience. What would be an example of patience? Yes. Waiting. Okay, waiting your turn. Good. Yes, what else?
When someone's pissing you off, You ignore them.
When someone is being a jerk, you ignore them. Yes. Yes. Okay. So, because, you could realize that that person is not trying to be a jerk. They're subject to the same stuff that goes on in their life, that goes on in my life, that goes on in your life, that makes it hard for all of us sometimes. What about anger? Boo. Thumbs down on anger.
It's not wrong to have feelings.
That's true. It's not wrong to have feelings. That is true. In fact, we'll talk about that. So anger might be a natural reaction that you have, but does a bodhisattva act based on anger? No. So Mr. Furious is not a bodhisattva. What about worry? No? Okay. Why is worry in some cases? Tell me about that.
I mean, worry kind of goes with compassion because, like, you could worry about a friend if they're, like, suffering, like you said.
Okay, very good. So,
Excessively worry cannot be a bodhisattva.
fantastic. We have a lot of wisdom in this room. I like that. So if you see someone who's suffering, you might worry about them. And worry can sometimes be helpful if it's a little bit of worry, because it could prevent us from something that could be harmful.
Yeah, it can easily turn into anxiety.
It could easily turn into anxiety if there's too much worry, right? So, and if you're thinking like, what if, then that could lead to anger also. And Shep has a comment. Yes.
But I feel like worry can also turn into compassion in a way.
Worry, if you have a little bit of worry, it could turn into compassion. That's true. So these are a little bit like not cut and dried, aren't they? They're a little bit more complicated, and it's going to get more complicated. Here we go.
Yes.
All right, well, this one's easy. Kindness. Kindness, yes. Okay, so kindness. What's an example of kindness? Yeah. This is so good. Being kind. In what way, Graham?
I just have another example of kindness: generosity, compassion, and patience.
Generosity, compassion, and patience. These things all have something in common, don't they?
Kindness.
Kindness. It all relates. What do these have in common that's different than what those have in common? They're bodhisattva qualities. You've been listening. Let's see if we can figure it out with like maybe a couple more examples. All right, how about this? Now, since a bodhisattva is a superhero, superiority. No? Why not?
Like that's basically putting yourself above all others, making yourself bigger.
Okay, putting yourself above all others. Pushing everyone down below you. I love this. So this is not a bodhisattva quality. Okay, so superiority is definitely not a bodhisattva quality. Good? Oh, yes, yes.
I'd say it's pretty different from leadership, actually, because leadership helps people, and superiority isn't necessarily putting yourself above others, it's putting others below you.
Okay, so what Athena said made a lot of sense. It's different from leadership because leadership is done in order to support and help other people, and superiority is putting other people below you. So you could be a good leader without acting in a superior way. Now, if superiority goes over here, what about this one? Inferiority. Up or down with inferiority? We got some ups, we got some downs.
What does it mean?
What does inferiority mean? Who has a definition of inferiority? Solomon, you had some.
Thinking that other people are
Thinking that other people are inferior to you. Good. Yeah, Graham.
I think it might mean that you're inferior to everyone else.
Okay, it could also mean that you think that you're inferior to everybody else. Like, what's an example? Grr, ruff, ruff. Like, oh, I'm a dog. Or like, you know what? I'm no good at memorizing. I won't even try to do this because I know I won't be able to do it. Or these other people are so much better than me at that. I'm not even going to try. Or they shouldn't expect me to do this work because I have ADHD, right? So like inferiority, I would put that over here. But look at this. What about, we have inferiority over here. What about, oops, wrong one. What about humility? How is humility different from inferiority? I see all these thumbs up signs. Who's got a definition of that?
I'm gonna hold the hand. Nope, I'm holding it. Nope. I'm holding it.
How is humility, Athena?
Inferiority, I'd say it's like saying that you're worse than everybody else, but humility is just saying that you're not necessarily better.
Okay. Inferiority would be thinking that you're worse than everybody else, or it could be thinking this person is worse than everybody else, where humility would be you're not better than everybody else. So letting somebody else go first would be an example of humility. So what do the bodhisattva qualities have in common? We started thinking of it before. They're all bodhisattva qualities. What do the not bodhisattva qualities have in common? Besides they're not bodhisattva qualities. Yeah, Solomon.
So bodhisattva qualities are like accepted by society. They're like more what people would categorize as good.
Okay.
Not bodhisattva qualities are the opposite.
Okay, bodhisattva qualities are accepted by society. Why? Why? What do you think, Roro?
Because they're polite.
They're polite. They look at what's good for everybody. The not bodhisattva qualities are about me, 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 me. So now here's the secret. Sometimes we get excited about something, like we see the bigger cookie and we think, oh, I want that cookie. And that's automatically our feeling, and it's not wrong to have feelings. So that doesn't mean we're naturally a bad person. Buddhism teaches that each of us has the seeds of compassion, and we have the seeds of greed, and we have the seeds of anger, and we have the seeds of compassion. So what makes a difference? What? I said compassion. So we have the seeds of anger, we have the seeds of greed, we have the seeds of compassion, we have the seeds of kindness. So which seeds we choose to water are the seeds that grow. So if you water anger, it grows fast, it feels powerful, and it usually makes things worse later on. And if you water the seeds of worry, it pretends that it's protecting you. And if you water it too much, it gets all this what if scenarios. What if this? What if that? Oh no. And it steals your sleep. But when you water compassion or generosity, you don't always get instant results, but you help other people feel good, and you feel good too. And we always have a choice, and sometimes it's difficult to choose, and maybe it's hardest to choose when we feel attacked. So, let's see what's happening in school today. Tom, you are so stupid. Your drawing looks like it was done by a baby. I'm not stupid. You're stupid. You talk like a dumb person. Oh, who are you calling me dumb? Ah! So Tom's response was, I'm not stupid. You're stupid. What do you think? Did that response do anything to improve the situation, or did it make it worse? I think it made it worse. Hey, Tom, I heard that you and Jim both got called into the principal's office yesterday for fighting. What happened? Jim started it. He called me stupid. Well, it was not right for Jim to call you stupid. You know that you're not stupid. Yeah, but he shouldn't be able to get away with that. Look, Jim called you stupid, and you got angry, and you started yelling back at him. None of us can control what other people say and do. We can only control our own thoughts, our own words, and our own actions. Is that something that the Buddha said? Well, no, that was a philosopher named Epictetus. He was a little bit after the Buddha, but he had some similar ideas. He was really good. I think he was the best. But Jim made me so angry. Tom, why are you giving Jim the power to control your words and actions? But if Jim calls me stupid, he's going to make me angry. I don't have control over that. Yes, you do have control over your response. You took the first step. You noticed that you were getting angry. And in between someone else's actions and your response, there's a step there. There's a little space where you can take a breath. And you can choose how you want to respond. And that's what Stephen Covey said in his book. I think that book was the best. I thought you said Epictetus was the best. They're both the best. Okay. Dude, you have too many favorite authors. Tom, you seem to be really worried because of what Jim said. What are you worried about? Well, I don't want people to think I'm stupid. I have to defend myself. Tom, do you really need to defend yourself from Jim's words? You have other choices. After you take a breath, you could tell him that's not okay without attacking him. You could walk away. You know, do you think people believe everything that Jim says? Well, no. Well, who do you think people respect more? Someone who insults other people, or someone who can remain calm no matter what the situation? Well, I guess I don't have a lot of respect for someone who insults other people. I have more respect for someone who can remain calm no matter what the situation. Yeah, that's called equanimity. Oh, equanimity. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. It comes from, like, the Latin word for horse is equus. And so, like, equanimity is being able to not fall off your horse, even when you're shooting a bow and arrow, like those samurai in feudal Japan. No, it's not that. But you could think about it that way if it helps you remember it. Like, being so stable, no matter what's happening, that you don't fall off your horse. So next time Jim does something like that, don't let him provoke you, okay? Just remember that. Oh, here comes Jim. Tom, you are so stupid, and you're a wimp. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I will take that under advisement. So a bodhisattva is someone who wants to help make the world kinder and happier and easier for everybody. And they see a problem and they think, how can I help? And they don't automatically think, is this about me? And if you choose to water your seeds of compassion, then over time you become a compassionate person. And if you choose to water your seeds of anger, you get a grumpy zucchini. So now it's time for the kids and parents to go to the other building. And Don is going to announce where the kids and parents go.
I want to go downstairs.
Don, where do the kids and parents go?
Oh, sorry.
I want to go
We are anyone participating in the families program today. We're gonna go out towards the residents and maybe gather on the porch so we multiply since the beginning. And you can gather the kids there, and the parents from there can go to join Mo Samsam for mindful parenting.
So, and mindful parenting will be in the yellow building right next door in the library.
Okay. Let's stand up and do 3 bows. Okay.
I like the cow. I like the monster funny.
Mau, mau, mau. Mau, mau. Okay, let's do an adult version of the 3 refuges. We'll do it first in Sino-Korean, in keeping with our tradition, and then we'll do it in English. Please face the Buddha statue on the altar. Okay, let's do in English. I go for refuge to the Buddha.
I go for refuge to the Buddha,
My deeply awakened mind,
my deeply awakened mind,
which must be cultivated to be known fully.
which must be cultivated to be known fully.
I go for refuge to the Dharma,
I go for refuge to the Dharma,
truth manifesting everywhere,
truth manifesting everywhere,
which must be cultivated to be known fully.
which must be cultivated to be known fully.
I go for refuge to the Sangha,
I go for refuge to the Sangha,
deep friendship and interconnection of all beings,
deep friendship and interconnection of all beings,
which must be cultivated to be known fully.
which must be cultivated to be known fully.
Now our dedication of merit. On this 11th day of January 2026, we acknowledge that this land where our temple buildings stand has been the home of native peoples, the Potawatomi, the Odawa, and the Ojibwe, the Council of the Three Fire Tribes, and also of Black Americans. We know that this neighborhood used to be a historically Black neighborhood during times of racial segregation and oppression. For our own awakening and for the awakening of all life, may the benevolent energies of our meditation, chanting, and full presence here at this service extend to all beings on this planet and throughout time and space. May there be deepening of our interbeing. May peace prevail and wars cease. Now, please, let's sit in meditation again, and then we'll have a Dharma discussion afterwards. Please sit comfortably. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Magamuk.
My name is Magamuk. I'm one of the new Dharma teachers here. So new that when I try to lead the 3 refuges in Sino-Korean, sometimes it comes out as the 2.5 refuges. But patience is a bodhisattva virtue, so I'm patient with myself. So today I want to read The Way of the Bodhisattva. The Way of the Bodhisattva is an essay that was composed at about 700 AD by the Indian Buddhist monk and philosopher Shantideva. And in fact, I'll start by reading an excerpt from this book, The 6 Perfections by Dale Wright. Dale Wright was a professor at UCLA, and here's what he had to say. In meditation, anyone, whether they owned material objects or not, could work through the imaginary mental exercises of giving. Visualizing and contemplating acts of giving in meditation, Buddhists hoped to inculcate profound feelings of generosity, which in the future would give rise to compassionate, charitable acts on behalf of the well-being of others. Therefore, because it was a mental exercise, the list of items goes even further to what would seem to be outrageous extremes. Because the Bodhisattva vows compassion in the form of postponing his or her own enlightenment so that others might also have an opportunity, the Bodhisattva vows to achieve a selfless state of compassion in which the enlightenment of others is as important as his or her own, and strives toward that goal by training the mind to respond to others in a spirit of open generosity. So think about that as you listen to The Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. This is an excerpt from it. Thus, by the virtue collected through all that I have done, may the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. May a rain of food and drink descend to clear away the pain of thirst and hunger, and during the eon of famine, may I myself change into food and drink. May I become an inexhaustible treasure for those who are poor and destitute. May I turn into all the things they need, and may these be placed close beside them. Whether those who encounter me conceive a faithful or angry thought, may that always become the source for fulfilling all their wishes. May all who say bad things to me or cause me any other harm, and those who mock and insult me, have the fortune to awaken fully, like this guy. May I be a savior of those without one, a guide for all travelers on the way. May I be a bridge, a boat, and a ship for all who wish to cross the water. May I be an island for those who seek one, and a lamp for those desiring light. May I be a bed for all who wish to rest. May I be a wishing jewel, a magic vase, powerful mantras, and great medicine. May I be a wish-fulfilling tree and a cow of plenty for the world. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the countless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach unto the ends of space. Just as the previous bodhisattvas conceived the spirit of enlightenment, and just as they successively lived in the bodhisattva practices, likewise, for the sake of all that lives, do I conceive the spirit of enlightenment. And likewise, shall I too successively follow the practices. So that's the way of the bodhisattva. And as Dale Wright says, it's kind of extreme. And it takes us into perhaps contemplating what's possible so that we put our minds in the state, we condition our minds to the state of generosity for the benefit of everyone. Also, I forgot to say, because we have a lot of new people here today, when we do the 3 refuges, perhaps in Sino-Korean, it's okay if you do not know the words. We're all learning the words. And so it's also a sound practice. You can just throw your voice in and follow along. So I'm interested to hear, what thoughts do you guys have? We can have a discussion about any of the bodhisattva qualities, the way of the bodhisattva. We have a microphone, so raise your hand if you have a comment or a question.
Something that stuck out to me in that passage, coming from a Western mind of kind of scarcity and I don't know, that kind of thinking, but comparing yourself to a cow to give plenty to the world. Being milked for something seems like a negative connotation in my head, but I suppose if you devote your life to giving, it's not really, if you have yours and everyone else's enlightenment on the same level as just a flat plane, and you devote your entire life to giving yourself away to make the enlightenment of others easier, I suppose it is just a different viewpoint that you have to learn.
As Haji said, as we go around, if you feel comfortable giving your name, start with your name so that we can each learn each other's names.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kirsten. Hi. The reading really took me far into that, even to try to be selfless is still self-focused. And that going even further, that at no point in time are you anything but everything already. So to disappear your selfness so much so that you recognize how much you already are everything, to be available, like that you're not doing anything. You're not doing anything different, but to recognize that you yourself as an independent thing don't exist already. I hope that made sense. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ian or Paba. I have a question about, I don't know, as we're going through all the bodhisattva like qualities like generosity and patience, I was like, yeah. And then for some reason I got really stumped at kindness. And my question is, where does kindness meet self-respect in the sense of like protecting oneself too, like from harm or um, like boundaries, I suppose, with others?
That is an excellent topic of conversation. I could give my viewpoint, but what do you guys think? Where do you draw the line between the boundaries of kindness and giving and generosity and being so giving that you're not protecting yourself?
I feel like one of the funny things about all these qualities is that they go kind of both ways or all ways. Where being generous to people, you also can be generous to yourself. And being kind to people, you can also be kind to yourself. And so maybe as you find your kindness starting to not be kind to yourself too, that you can sort of remember that all those qualities, you're not separate from other people. So also you're allowed to give those qualities to yourself. So I like this one saying where it's like, you have to inhale before you can exhale. And as important it is to work and do good or whatever it might be, the activity, it's also just as important to allow yourself to breathe so you can even do it in the first place.
I'm Hillary, and I was also contemplating self-love as part of our love practice and starting from a place of self-love as a way to generate so much abundance that there's so much to share. And my vision in meditation was about the fruiting bodies of the mycelium, so that we are all one, and yet we are also selves as the fruiting bodies, and that as a metaphor, there are so many different types of mushroom, and that we each do get to be self-expressed while still being one unified force. And that self-expression can be both negative and positive, sadly, and yet by returning to the source material, we're bringing, it is those of us, to bring the sugars back to the greater whole, and to bring the sweetness back to the greater whole, and to make that a practice. I was also very heartened to know that worry is not a bodhisattva quality, so that we can do our greatest effort to not.
Hello, my name is Emily, and I think just continuing with sort of the discussion around, a couple of discussions around sort of the boundaries between being kind or giving and the etc. I have, I guess, an anecdote and no answers, but I feel like I really liked the saying of like when you water, or the comparison of watering a seed. So like if you water anger, it can turn into like one sort of response. And then if you water compassion, like it's generally something that feels good in life. And I think that that's something that I've sort of come to use as a guide. Like over the summer, there was an internship that I was in, and it was to help businesses. And there was one founder that was really struggling. And I thought I was acting with a lot of compassion for him because he was like about to be kicked out of the accelerator that I was interning at. So I was trying really hard. I was like giving my all to him. But it turned into a point where he started taking advantage of me. So he was holding me after hours, and eventually he appropriated my research. And I realized that at some point, what I was doing was like not compassion anymore. And I think that like at some point, like I could start to feel, while I was doing the work, whatever I was watering had changed and like no longer felt good anymore. Meanwhile, like I do a lot of like, I think volunteer work I do like sort of like events for undergraduate students. And every single time that I do that, you know, over time, it feels good. It like feels better. So I feel like those are things that like sort of guide how I like distinguish between what I think is like compassion versus what may not be very helpful. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura. Just kind of an observation. I was watching that puppet show and I was waiting for a puppet on this side to get the Bodhisattva talk as well. You know, I think it's important to know how to be not reactive to a jerk, but it's also important to know how to not be a jerk. And that got left wide open. So that was my thought.
That could be for Puppet Show 2.0.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Daniel. And on the topic of giving so much that you sacrifice your own boundaries, it's like when you give so much that the other people start taking advantage of you and other people start to take from you. I don't think that is an ideal situation. I think an ideal situation is where you give all you have and the others also give you all they have. So the water never flows away, it just flows back and forth. So it's not just you who should give everything you have, it's everyone who should give everything they have to everyone else.
On that same kind of theme, I was thinking about the difference between when you give for loving kindness and you give versus when you give for ego. And I think one of the things that really separates the two for me is when I am giving to empower others, when I can see that they're taking things in and are able to kind of actualize those things. When I really like the idea of like we are already part of everything. So when I can activate the other parts of the whole, that feels like it's coming from loving kindness versus when I'm doing it to show that I can do it or to fix some sort of emotional need in myself. That's when I find myself giving past my ability to give.
Hi, I'm Allie. And I think it's really easy to, or it's a little bit simpler to think about these qualities in the context of our personal lives, our social connections, and our friends and family. But as a college student who's about to graduate, I'm thinking about how can I reduce my, or how can I alleviate the suffering of all beings, so to say, as a bodhisattva, as a person who needs to make a living. And I think it's a little bit difficult to think about like which kind of job can I choose and which how can I make money and survive, which we need to do in this world, and also continue to be a bodhisattva. And I haven't explored the text very much, so I'm not really sure kind of what they say about this, but I guess it's a question, I guess, like how can I still have these qualities and also make a living? And I guess that goes into how can I want to be, selfless, but also you have to be a little bit selfish because you need to make money to survive, I guess. So I was wondering if there's any insight anyone has on that.
We could do a whole Dharma talk, I think we will soon, about right livelihood. But I think you have a comment on that. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Tiger, And my comment on that is thoughts are as powerful, if not more powerful than actions. So there's bodhisattvas right now working at McDonald's. So your waking and conscious mind and your physical actions could be perhaps not 100% in line with your bodhisattva ideals, but so long as your thoughts are there, you are a bodhisattva.
Hello, my name's Suzanne, and I was looking at the bodhisattva qualities, and I can relate with most of them, but I was confused with the humility one. And humility to me is something that is not a fun feeling for me. And so I'm trying to figure it out. It's confusing, but I can see that it can be a quality to have humility, but it doesn't feel good when it happens to you.
That is an excellent question. There's some comments over here. Go ahead.
Wait, this wasn't an answer to the question. Let's go ahead first then. My name is Secho. What's arising for me is just a comment around intention. You know, when I set a boundary, I'm very much setting that out of generosity of communication, and really, sharing a compassionate sense of my reality. That this is what I'm capable of. This is what I need. This is what I can provide. And, beyond that, maybe I do have a wish, and imagined, as Shantideva kind of said, that everything I have, I could give to all beings everywhere all the time. That's not necessarily how life works, though. And there's a middle way, right? I give exactly what I can give, and I know that boundary, and I know that that much, and I'm compassionate and kind to myself and to the other person by not saying, oh, I could do more when I really can't, or I'm capable of something I am not, or I give until it hurts, and then what good am I then? I've put myself in a situation where I can't really live up to those other bodhisattva qualities. So I think when I go through that, and even thinking about the last part about humility, there was kind of a conversation around equanimity, inferiority, humility, and superiority. And I think the humility piece is the middle way. It's at one with, not above or below, just completely equal to, in that sense. So thank you. I have spoken.
Hi, I'm John. I was thinking a lot about the metaphor with the seeds watering, and also how it kind of related in my mind to one of the parts of the passage where it talked about, wishing all who speak ill to you, like the best and enlightenment. I feel like in my life, whenever I've had like instances where I felt like very wronged, there's a certain point of work where I'm able to accept that and, be okay with the fact that everything happened, and it's better, but it's not until I'm able to really go further and be able to feel that compassion and wishing the best for those that I feel wronged me, that I feel better. So it's like, when I'm able to like water that seed of compassion, I have flowers. But if I'm just focused on getting rid of the anger and not that other part, I'm just kind of in like a patch of dirt. And yeah.
I think that in terms of taking care of yourself and taking care of other people, if you help your community, you are helping yourself too, because people around you are going to tend to not be aggressive. And when I first met the people in the temple, I realized that there was a really good spirit here. Everyone was friendly. Everyone wanted to express themselves and accepted what I expressed. And a lot of this I've seen in the commercial world, because I had a company for 17 years. And we would actually help other companies, competitive companies, and they would help us. And what happens then that my company and the other companies would have a much better opportunity with pharmaceutical companies, with the NIH and everything like that, to have two companies going out. And it became like 5 companies going out and trying to push the same commercial activity, but they were cooperating with each other. So we were a community, and we did very well in the world because we were such a good community and helped each other.
I'm Sambodhi. That third chapter of the Bodhicharyavatara that you're reading from, when I read it, I think of it. The chapter is supposed to be about commitment, and so he's talking about his teachers in a lot of ways. But when I read it, there's a lot of what sounds like a response to grief. And I also think about like in that where he's acknowledging like being in a temple where he was widely disrespected, and kind of like being able to acknowledge that with humility, and offer that forgiveness, I think is really important. In the sense of what's being offered, I think about like if I have some expectation of return, then like what am I really offering? And when I listen to this again, I kind of think about like what is the real spirit in which I am I'm making these offerings, and I want to make sure that I'm being sincere when I do that.
Okay. Before we have our announcements, let's just close the loop on some of the questions, good questions that were asked. Just my perspective. Humility, sometimes feeling uncomfortable. So yeah, think about humility in terms of not bragging. Think about humility in terms of not showing off or letting others go first, as opposed to inferiority, thinking that others are better than you. How to get along in the world, hold a job, earn money, while at the same time being charitable and generous. That could be a whole Dharma talk, and it will be. Just as a teaser for that, there was a book about 30 years ago that I really liked called Buddhist. It was Zen and the Art of Making a Living by Lawrence G. Bolt. Really good book. And that talked about the paradigm that we have in modern corporate America of the little king. And each one of us is a little king in a silo, and we're trying to compete and do the best for our family or our department or whatever. And replacing that with the model of the person as artist, the Zen artist who's viewing work as a way of creative expression. You know, I'm doing this. I'm being an educator in a public school, or I'm being a person who gives good service to other people, no matter what your job is, you know? So that's one thing. Another thing is this question of where do we draw the line between giving and being generous and giving so much that it's to the detriment of ourselves. And it's unfortunate that most of the parents of young children have gone into the other building to have their meeting, because we've heard from a lot of young people, and there's also the important perspective of parents and wanting to give to their children. So in the spirit of accept constant change, think about that perspective as well. And if you've ever read the book, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, you know, my aunt gave me that book to read when I was a little kid. And she really held this book in high regard. And then like years later, 30 years later, I read it to my kids and I started crying like, wow, that is such an extreme degree of giving that this tree is doing. It's like the modern version of The Way of the Bodhisattva by Shantideva. So just some things to think about. Okay, do we have some announcements today?
Yes.
Yes.
Dear Sangha, by a show of hands, can we see who's new today? Wow, we have a lot of new people, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We always look forward to seeing you. Public services are offered every Sunday at 10 a.m. Families are especially welcomed the second Sunday of every month when we have a Dharma talk geared towards children, as you may have noticed. Our next family service will be on February 8th. Please also join us for Together Action every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. This work practice is aimed at helping us maintain our temple buildings and grounds. We consider hands-on work a vital aspect of our Buddhist practice. As we care for our temple, we care for ourselves. January is a vibrant month at the temple, and we hope that you will join us for some special events. On January 18th from 2 to 3:30, we will be offering our first Uposatha observance. This special service is an opportunity to open our hearts, unburden ourselves from guilt, and strengthen our ongoing relationship with the Buddhist precepts. At the 10 a.m. service that day, Mo Samsam's Dharma talk will focus on the history and meaning of this tradition. Following the January service, we plan to offer Uposatha on an ongoing basis, the third Sunday of every month. On January 23rd, beginning at 8 p.m., come and meditate to awaken your true nature, inspired by Shakyamuni Buddha, who sat under the Bodhi tree and came to freedom. This is an all-night sitting which begins at 4 p.m. on January 24th.
8 p.m. on the 23rd, going to 4 a.m.
8 p.m. to 4 a.m. On January 25th, right after the morning service, we will have a book sale and book giveaway. Please stay a few minutes after the 10 a.m. Sunday service to pick out a book to take home with you. See, monetary donations encouraged to support the temple, but not required. Also, we have a special winter retreat coming up. Zen meditation and art retreat at our Spring Wind Farm in the Hudson Valley, New York, February 9th through 14th. The theme will be honoring the truth within as we remember the spirit of a first retreat with Venerable Samu Sunim in the spring of 1979. There's a sign-up sheet out in the lobby for classes, retreats, Sangha care. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, thank you, So-Sung. The temple is supported by your generous donations of time and money. There's a fishbowl right outside the door for monetary donations. If you'd like to volunteer your time, Saturdays from 3 to 5 p.m. is a good time to do that. We have Together Action, where a lot of Sangha members come together and do some work for the temple, and that's a nice way to meet other people in the temple also. And Iljan, Recovery Dharma.
Recovery Dharma will meet noon today in the library at the historic Buddha Hall, the big yellow building right next door.
Okay. Let's together say something similar to the extreme aspiration of Shantideva, which is the 4 great vows. And then we'll do 3 bows to the altar before we leave to recognize the historic person, Shakyamuni Buddha, who inspires us as a teacher. All beings, one body.
All beings, one body.
I vow to liberate.
I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root.
Blind passions, one root.
I vow to terminate.
I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind.
Dharma gates, one mind.
I vow to penetrate.
I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha.
The great way of Buddha.
I vow to realize.
I vow to realize.
After you straighten your mat and cushion, please help to prepare this room for yoga class, which we have on Tuesdays. So the mats and cushions that are touching the center carpet will remain there, but the other rows behind them can get stacked up neatly. The mats and cushions on this side go onto the platform, and the ones over here go into the far corner. And please stand and straighten up your mat and cushion.